In a small, peaceful town where everyone knew each other's name, a brutal act would shatter its calm forever. On an ordinary evening, a crime unfolded so shocking, it would change the lives of everyone involved. But what happens when the most unsuspecting among us is pushed to the edge? What would drive someone to commit such a crime? The answers lie in the quiet, unseen corners of this town. But the deeper we dig, the darker the truth becomes. Stay with us. Because what we're about to uncover is nothing like you expect. In the quiet town of Maplewood, 27-year-old Emily Parker had everything ahead of her. A bright future, a loving fiancé, and a dream of starting a family. But on one fateful evening, all of that was taken away in an act of unimaginable violence. On the night of June 14th, Emily was found dead in her apartment, her life violently snatched away before she could even begin to fulfill her dreams. The crime was brutal. Left behind was a scene so horrific, it rattled even the most hardened investigators. This is not just another murder in a small town. This is a story of betrayal, fear, and secrets that run deeper than anyone ever imagined. The questions linger: who would do this to Emily? And why? The town of Maplewood has never been the same since that night. The people who once trusted each other are now questioning everything, and no one is safe from the fear that lingers in the air. Stay with us as we unravel the events that changed this town forever, one layer at a time. Emily Parker wasn't just a name to the people of Maplewood, she was a friend, a sister, a daughter, a woman full of promise. Born and raised in this small town, Emily had always dreamed of something more than the quiet life her family led. She had aspirations of becoming a writer, telling the stories that lived in her heart. But more than that, she dreamed of a family of her own, a future with the man she loved. She wasn't just loved, she was admired. Friends remember her as a woman with a bright smile that could light up even the darkest room. She was the type of person who gave freely of herself, always there for others, always listening, always caring. Her best friend, Laura, recalls the night they spent at Emily's apartment just days before the tragedy. She was so excited, Laura says, her voice filled with emotion. She talked about wedding plans and how she couldn't wait to start her life with Ben. Emily had so much ahead of her. She was ready for everything. Emily had a deep love for books, often escaping into her favorite novels, dreaming of one day writing her own. She was passionate about her community, often volunteering at the local library, and everyone in town knew her by name. But it wasn't just her kindness that made her special. Emily had an innate strength, a quiet resilience that her family admired. Her mother, Kathy, remembers, Emily never let anything get her down. She always bounced back. She was the glue that held our family together. Her laughter was contagious, her heart as big as the world. Emily was everything Maplewood stood for: kindness, hope, and warmth. But on that fateful night, all of that was stolen, and with it, the town lost more than just a resident. It lost a piece of its heart. As we continue this story, we will learn just how deeply Emily's death cut into the lives of those who knew her best. The tragedy was not just a loss for her family, but for the whole community. The night Emily was found dead, the town of Maplewood was thrust into a chilling silence. Authorities were called to the scene immediately, but nothing could prepare them for what they would find inside that apartment. A crime so brutal that it was hard to fathom someone from their own community could commit it. When Detective Sarah Martin arrived at the scene, the first thing she noticed was the unsettling stillness of the room. There were no signs of forced entry, no indication of a struggle, only the unmistakable mark of violence. It was clear, someone had been in Emily's life, and then, in the worst way possible, they'd taken it. But who? And why? At first, the investigation moved slowly. The police questioned everyone close to Emily, family, friends, and neighbors. But everyone seemed to have an alibi. There were no obvious suspects. With few leads, the investigators struggled to make sense of the crime. The case grew colder by the day. Weeks passed, and as the town began to mourn, the investigators came up empty-handed. That was until a breakthrough, a small detail that would change everything. On a routine search of the crime scene, investigators discovered something no one had expected. Hidden behind a loose piece of wallpaper, they found a single, forgotten earring. It was an odd detail, but it was enough to send shockwaves through the case. Why was it there? Whose was it? The earring, although seemingly insignificant, became the first real piece of evidence that led to a string of discoveries. Detective Martin knew something was off. The truth was out there, but it was hidden in the smallest of details. And so, they began to dig deeper. Interviews with Emily's friends led to one startling revelation: Emily had recently argued with someone she had trusted. Ben, her fiancé, had been acting strangely in the weeks leading up to her death. Was this the key to unlocking the mystery? Ben was distant, not like himself, Laura, Emily's best friend, recalled in a tearful interview. She said she was worried about him, but she never told anyone what happened. The pieces of the puzzle were beginning to fall into place. But then, just as the investigators thought they were closing in on Ben, a new lead emerged: a mysterious phone call made just hours before Emily's death. A strange number appeared on the phone records, one that had never been connected to anyone in Emily's life. And even more perplexing, the call was made to a payphone just outside the town. Who could it have been? And why hadn't Emily mentioned it? The investigators now had more questions than answers. The list of suspects expanded. Was it Emily's fiancé? Or was there someone else, someone lurking in the shadows? Every new piece of evidence led to a new theory, but every theory seemed to fall apart the moment they thought they had it figured out. For weeks, the investigation seemed to move in circles. The discovery of the earring. The mysterious phone call. A questionable alibi from Ben. All of it added to a growing sense of confusion and fear. Detective Martin was certain that the answers were out there, hidden in plain sight. But finding them would mean uncovering something the town wasn't ready to face. As the investigation progressed, the small town of Maplewood was changing. Fear had taken root. Neighbors were looking over their shoulders, questioning each other, wondering if anyone was truly safe. The truth seemed farther away than ever, but Detective Martin knew one thing for sure: the killer was close, and the town's secrets were about to come to light. Just when it seemed like the investigation was closing in on a suspect, the case took an unexpected turn, one that no one saw coming. For weeks, the police had focused on Ben, Emily's fiancé. His distant behavior, the mysterious phone call, the arguments, all seemed to point in his direction. Everyone in town believed he was the one who had killed her. It all fit too perfectly, and the detectives were sure they were close to closing the case. But then, on a quiet Wednesday morning, a breakthrough came that sent shockwaves through the entire investigation, one that no one could have predicted. Detective Martin stood in the small, dimly lit room where the final piece of evidence was finally revealed. A single surveillance video from a nearby gas station, hidden for weeks in the evidence locker, was pulled up onto the screen. What it showed would change everything. There, on the grainy footage, was someone who looked familiar, but it wasn't Ben. It wasn't anyone from the initial list of suspects. It was someone much closer to Emily than anyone could have imagined. Someone who had slipped through the cracks. Someone who had been hiding in plain sight. Emily's own sister, Rachel. The video showed Rachel standing outside the gas station, nervously glancing around as she made a phone call, a call to Emily's phone, just hours before the murder. The same number that had once appeared on Emily's phone records. Rachel's involvement was more than anyone could have imagined. But the questions didn't stop there. Why would Emily's own sister do something so horrific? The detectives were stunned. Rachel had always been Emily's protector, her closest confidant. No one had ever suspected her. But as more evidence came to light, the reasons for Rachel's actions began to unfold. In a private interview, Rachel admitted to Detective Martin, her voice breaking as she confessed, "I couldn't stand to watch her get everything I wanted. I felt like I'd been invisible my whole life. She had everything, and I couldn't bear it anymore. The murder was not just a crime, it was a tragedy of jealousy, resentment, and years of hidden pain. The town was left in disbelief. Emily's killer wasn't a stranger, nor someone who had come from the shadows. The true culprit had been part of Emily's life all along. Rachel Parker, a woman who had once been seen as a pillar of support for her sister, was now the one responsible for the brutal murder that had torn Maplewood apart. This was the moment that shattered the town of Maplewood forever. The last person anyone could have suspected was the one who had taken everything away from them. The trial of Rachel Parker was a somber affair. The town of Maplewood watched as the woman they had once trusted, someone they thought of as family, stood accused of a crime so terrible it had changed their entire community. The prosecution laid out the evidence, the surveillance video, the phone calls, Rachel's confession. Rachel's defense team argued that she had been overwhelmed by years of jealousy, but the weight of her actions was undeniable. In the end, the jury returned with a guilty verdict. The town finally had its closure, but it was not the kind of justice they had imagined. Rachel Parker was sentenced to life in prison. The woman who had once been Emily's closest ally was now behind bars, facing the consequences of a crime that had irrevocably altered the lives of everyone involved. But even with the verdict, the town of Maplewood could never truly move on. The scar left by Emily's murder was deep and unhealable. Her family, her friends, and her fiancé, Ben, were left to pick up the pieces of their shattered lives. Ben, devastated by the betrayal of Emily's own sister, struggled to make sense of it all. In an interview after the trial, he said, "I never saw it coming. Rachel was family. She was supposed to protect her." His grief was compounded by the knowledge that the woman he had once trusted had torn his world apart. Emily's parents, Kathy and Richard, found it hard to move forward, even with the trial over. "We lost our daughter," Kathy said. "And in the end, we lost Rachel too. It feels like we're grieving two people, not just one." The emotional toll on the community was profound. Maplewood, a town once filled with trust and familiarity, now carried a heavy weight. People looked at their neighbors differently. The streets felt quieter, the air heavier, as if the town itself had lost its innocence. And though the trial provided some sense of resolution, the emotional scars would never fade. For those closest to Emily, the pain of losing her in such a violent, heartbreaking way would never go away. No verdict, no sentence, could heal that wound. But even as the trial came to a close, one question lingered in the minds of many: why? Why had Rachel felt the need to kill her own sister? Was there more to the story than anyone realized? The answers, it seemed, might never be fully understood. The town's dark secret had been uncovered, but the reasons behind Rachel's actions remained elusive. Had there been more jealousy, more resentment than anyone knew? Or was there something deeper, something hidden, behind the bond that was supposed to be unbreakable? In the end, justice may have been served, but the mystery of why it all happened remains. The town will never be the same. And for Emily's family, the emotional weight of her loss will forever haunt them. To this day, questions remain unanswered. Did Rachel act alone? Was there anyone else who knew what was about to happen? The true nature of the relationship between the sisters may never be fully understood. The story of Emily Parker is over. But for the town of Maplewood, and the people who knew her, it will never truly be finished. As we close this chapter on the brutal murder that shook Maplewood, the question still lingers: what truly drove Rachel to commit such a horrific act? Was it jealousy alone, or was there something more, something buried deep beneath the surface of their sisterly bond? What do you think really happened that night? Was Rachel's confession the full truth, or did the case reveal just the tip of a much darker story? We want to hear your thoughts. Who do you think was behind the crime? Was Rachel the sole perpetrator, or could there have been someone else involved, hidden in the shadows? Leave your comments below and share your theories. Your voice matters, and together, we can continue to search for answers. If you found this case gripping, don't forget to hit that like button and share it with friends who love true crime stories. And if you want more shocking true crime stories, make sure you subscribe to our channel so you never miss a new video. Hit that bell icon to stay updated on the latest mysteries. Next week, we delve into another case that shocked the world, one that remains unsolved to this day. You won't want to miss it. A mystery so twisted, it still haunts investigators, and the truth is still out there, waiting to be uncovered. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for more chilling true crime stories. The case of Emily Parker's murder may have come to a close with a conviction, but the emotional scars left behind will endure for those who loved her. The questions, the betrayal, and the heartbreak still linger in the air, haunting the quiet town of Maplewood. The once trusting community is now forever changed. While justice has been served, the emotional weight of losing a loved one in such a violent and unexpected way is not something that can be easily forgotten. The Parker family, Ben, and the people of Maplewood will carry the memory of Emily with them forever. As the dust settles, we are left to wonder, how well do we really know the ones closest to us? And what drives people to betray the ones they love most? This case may be closed, but the impact it left on a community, on a family, and on those who knew Emily, will never be erased. The truth is sometimes stranger than fiction. Thank you for joining us on this journey into the darkness. If you want to explore more chilling true crime stories, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and follow us for more updates. Until next time, stay safe, stay vigilant.